Shelly here with the Gray Wren Nest. Today's video is going to be a little different. I'm going to take you behind the scenes of how I work on customer projects. And today's customer project is with this beautiful quilting material. This is her quilt top and the backing that she has chosen. And I am going to do some long arm quilting on my QZone Queen rolling frame with my QCT6 Elite Longarm. Follow along and I'll share some tips and tricks and behind the scenes footage. To start, she asked me to piece her backing together. And here you see I'm ironing the seam open after I pieced it together. Next, I'm squaring up the backing. It's so important to make sure your fabric is square before you put it on the long arm. Here I'm preparing the batting. And I have a magnetic ruler and I have a magnetic cutting board, and this was a do-it-yourself project. I do have a full video on how I made the cutting board magnetic, so take a look at that on my YouTube channel. I love the ease of cutting my fabrics with a magnetic board and a magnetic ruler. My batting is actually 90 inches wide, so you'll see me here folding the batting over, so it has a fold in the center and then I folded it down at the bottom. So right now it's got a fold lengthwise and a fold widthwise. And I did the same with my backing fabric. It has a fold lengthwise and a fold widthwise. And then I cut my batting to size. Now it's time to load the backing onto the long arm. I line up the center top of the backing with my leader cloth center. I have a mark on it, plus I have a 0 measuring tape that starts 0 in the center, and I make sure that I line it up so that my center seam line is on the center of the leader. And now I'm loading up the bottom and I do the same thing. Even though I don't have a measuring tape at the bottom, I still have a mark on my leader cloth. So the center of the backing will go at the center of the leader cloth. And then I put my Sew Tight magnums on. And for the 0 measuring tape and my idle bar, that does not come with the QZone Queen rolling frame. I do have a video on how I did a DIY on my idle bar too, and I love it. It helps me keep my fabric nice and straight as I roll. As you can see here, I make sure everything is lined up and my right and left sides are on the same marks. So it was I want to say a 30, let's see, I'm trying to remember how wide my fabric was, but nonetheless, it was still the same on each side. I want to say it was 33 measuring from the 0 center point out to the right and the 0 center point out to the left at 33. Now it's time to put my batting on top. One thing that I forgot to point out is that my backing fabric is facing down and the wrong side of the backing is facing up. And now I'm laying the batting on top of the wrong side of the backing. And once I get it laid on here and I'm confident that I like the width, that it's even on both sides of my 0 tape measure, and that I'm ready to baste it down, I will turn on my clamps. I'll lock my clamps in the back so that when I sew a straight line from left to right, it will stitch on top of the batting a straight line without me thinking twice. Now it's time to line up my top of the quilt, and I use the center point of the middle block, and I make sure it's aligned with my 0 on my tape measure there on my idle bar. And then I'm spreading out the top so that it is measuring at my 33 mark on my right side and the 33 mark on my left side. And then I'm lining it up with the top of the quilt line on the batting, the stitched line, because I know that that is a perfectly straight line, so I will have a perfectly straight quilt top. and then I will stitch it down just like I did the batting. But I'll stitch it on the very edge where you'll never see it when it's covered with binding. I lock my clamps into place, and then I slowly stitch down within my 1/4 inch mark along the top. It's just a basting stitch, but it will be covered with the binding like I said, and you'll never see it. But if that bothers you, you can always pull the basting stitch out very easily before you put the binding on. I also baste down the sides so that my quilt doesn't shift as I'm quilting. You'll notice that I put on my side clamps, and I'm also putting on my bar clamps. Now what's interesting about these is rather than have the full length, I think they're like 36 inches long, I get the little small ones just so that I can place them where I want them. Because sometimes I'm working on a t-shirt quilt and you get that real funny vinyl and they won't, that bar clamp won't fit over it. So this way I can maneuver the clamps wherever I want them, and they work out great. They're in my Amazon storefront if you're interested, and the storefront is linked below this video. So now that the quilt is loaded and I've decided on my design, I need to figure out now which way I'm going to place it on the quilt, because there are multiple ways that I can do this. I have 2 different blocks that I'm using. I designed one over in Embroidery Legacy, and Embroidery Legacy is a wonderful digitizing program, mainly for my embroidery, but they do have a quilting side to where I can download it. I downloaded my file as a QLI, and I uploaded it into my program here, into Quilter's Creative Touch. So when I want to import the design that I did, I go to New Drive. Then I go to D because it's on a disk drive. And here's my edited Daisy quilt block QLI file. And I come down here and copy. Then I cancel, and I go into Shelly, paste it here in my Shelly folder, and there it is. When I bring my QLI file into Pattern CAD, it looks like this. And at first I thought, ooh, that looks like it's a satin embroidery stitch. And I was thinking I was doing something wrong, but that's the way it came in. So then I want to hit optimize. And, oh wow, look. The way I digitized it, there's only one pass. I don't have to remove anything. Sometimes there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots with jumps and everything, but this one's a perfect straight. I love it. So now I'm going to save it as a Grace file. So I'm going to say okay here. And then, let's see, file. Then I'm going to go up here to file. Do you wish to save your current pattern? I'm going to say yes. I think I want to save it in my blocks, in my Shelly folder. Now that's my one that I just did before I edited it, because I wasn't really pleased with how it was stitching. So you know, you always go back and you refine. So I want to be able to save my file as edited Shelly, edited Daisy Shelly, I'm going to say 2. And so edited Daisy Shelly 2. So make sure you have your own folder on there. And then when I save it, so let's see what it looks like in my folder now. And here it is. It's saved as a GPF for the Grace Company. So it's an edited daisy, Shelly 2. That's how I know it's there. And I'm going to delete this one so I don't get confused. So I click on it and I press delete. Yes. Now this is the original QLI file. I'll just keep that one. And there is the GPF file for Grace. On my screen on the Quilter's Creative Touch QCT6, I select and sew. And now I need to set my safe area. So I go all the way to the corner of the batting, upper left corner of the batting, and then I will click this node, and then I'll move this arm here all the way to the right, lower batting area as far as I can go, and I will click a button. It'll tell me to click a button down here, and that will set my safe zone. Next, I want to pick my file. I know this row starts with a 9 patch, so I'm going to bring up the 9 patch daisy chain that I made, and I know it's in the blocks under my Shelly folder, and right there it is, Daisy Shelly 2. I open it. Now we are going to do multi-pattern placement. And even though I'm in Select and Sew, which is the QCT6, I think plus version number 2, the second level, the mid-level, you need to have QCT6 Pro with gold for multi-pattern placement. If you do not have that, you can still do this. You just have to put your blocks down separately and sew each block. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. I've always had the full version, so, you know, if I'm wrong on that, please excuse me, but that is the beauty of the full version, is that you can have multi-pattern placement and then stitch out a whole row. So let me show you. So like I said, I'm in Select and Sew, and I hit multi-pattern placement, and I say okay. And that brings me to a lot of buttons over here, and I like that. I'm just going to place my blocks using the 4-point placements, and I'm going to put it in a row and stitch out the row. I'm getting ready to place my second 9-patch block, my daisy chain here, and I'm in the upper left corner, so I press that and see it shifts it over to where it needs to be. And then the right. Left. Right. And now left. And then I say pattern. Do you want to place this pattern again? Yes. And I go over to my next 9 block. I will continue that all the way down. Okay, I have my row placed again, this time without the marking tool, but I'm confident it's going to stitch out just fine. So then I go to quilt. And I know that it starts around here. I pressed sew, and the rest is history. Look how beautiful this stitch out is. I repeated the same process until I got to the last row. The only difference on the last row is that I basted down the sides and the bottom. And then I put my patterns in each of the squares, and voila. Look how beautiful it turned out. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me today in my sewing studio. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.